Hello friends and viewers, and welcome to my Lutfi character guide. If you are just here for a quick reference, I've created a pocket guide for the beginning of the video. Lutfi's trait is Smiling Mask. He gains a passive attack increase, and at the start of Lutfi's turn, he will lock onto 4 random enemies within 6 tiles of him, and remove their alert status and inflict 1 random level 2 debuff. This trait also reduces the duration of the planning debuff at increasing star level. Planning is a debuff that prohibits Lutfi from using checkmate or decoy after casting either ability. This functionally means checkmate and decoy share a cooldown, and the cooldown is in the form of a debuff. Each debuff inflicted on a target before attacking increases Lutfi's attack by 5% up to 40%. After casting a support or debuff skill, for each debuff the target has, Lutfi inflicts life loss equal to 5% of his physical attack up to 35% of physical attack for 2 turns. This can be triggered up to 4 times per round. Here's a table detailing Lutfi's growth at each star level. He is a very capable unit at star level 1, but at increasing star level, you will see some playstyle and gameplay changes at star level 3 and star level 5. Lutfi's initial skill is All's Fair in War. This is a 3 energy cost skill with no cooldown. With this skill, Lutfi gains a stack of dodge. After triggering dodge, he teleports to the attacker's back and deals 100% physical damage. Lutfi then gains another stack of dodge after attacking. Before diving into his skill tree, I want to preface that Lutfi will require substantial Castalia investment for long-term play. He excels at supporting allies and inflicting debuffs, and sometimes he can be loaded out with a bit of both in mind. Develop a thorough understanding of his skill kit for your first skill picks, then decide how to spend your Castalia later. At rank 1, I recommend Summon Bodyguard. Summon Bodyguard summons a defender with counterattack, leg slam, and guard. This bodyguard can be buffed by summon effects such as from Akambe and Flavia. Extreme Edge is a 3 energy cost single target attack. Against injured targets, crit and crit damage increase by 30% and will ignore assisting cover. Realistically, neither skill will be a part of Lutfi's regular skill loadout. Summon Bodyguard is recommended because it can add utility by serving as an extra unit for objective-based maps and support TP regeneration. Extreme Edge may be more comfortable for early Voyager progression and low star level. However, long-term it contests with other energy spenders and will be succeeded by other skills as Lutfi reduces the duration of the planning debuff. At rank 3, I recommend Alienation with a Castalia for full victory. With Alienation, at the end of Lutfi's turn, he will inflict Assist, Attack 2, and Vulnerable 3 debuffs onto 3 random enemies within 3 tiles of him. With these debuffs, Lutfi functionally decreases group damage taken and increases group damage dealt. This will also trigger life loss from Smiling Mask. This is an extremely potent passive skill, and the second source of a Vulnerable 3 debuff available to us after Nono Will. Full Victory is a common aura that increases crit by 20% and crit damage by 10% to allies within 3 tiles of him. This is an improved version of Lightning's and Divine Grace's crit command, and thus makes it the first common aura on a legendary character that increases crit and crit damage. At rank 5, I recommend Disturbance. With Disturbance, at the end of Lutfi's turn, if no damage was dealt, he will inflict 1 random level 2 attribute debuff and life loss equal to 40% of his physical attack to 3 random enemies within 3 tiles of him. This will also trigger an additional stack of life loss from his trait. This gives value to any standby turns, but will also still trigger so long as no direct active damage is caused to the enemy. Energy Recovery recovers 1 energy when Lutfi is attacked. This may be more comfortable at low star level or in scenarios where Lutfi can regularly deal active damage, and can be used with his All's Fair in War initial skill. Long-term, Energy Recovery loses value at higher star level as Lutfi becomes more self-sufficient with energy, and Disturbance only becomes stronger as Lutfi's star level increases. At rank 7, I recommend Decoy with the Castalia for Moment of Crisis. Decoy is an active skill that groups up enemies within 3 tiles of Lutfi and inflicts Move 2 and active skills debuffs. Lutfi gains Decoy, a 3-turn buff that allows him to avoid being targeted by enemies, but is still affected by AoE and environmental damage and can still be locked onto. Decoy also increases his attack by 30% and is removed after an active attack. Maintaining uptime on this attack increase means avoiding casting active attacks, but Lutfi can still cast support and debuff skills. Once Decoy ends, Lutfi receives the planning debuff. Moment of Crisis is a new Alacrity aura, contesting what we already have from Cole and Nurgle. With this aura, Alacrity allies will have 18% increased attack when actively attacking or casting support or debuff skills against enemies with 3 or more debuffs. After an active cast, they will also gain the Master Strategist buff for 1 turn, increasing their attack by 18% outside of their turn as well. At rank 9, I recommend Hidden Pierce with a Castalia for Discovered Check. Discovered Check is a single target attack that inflicts 2 random level 2 attribute debuffs on the target. If the enemy triggers a counterattack, Lutfi will dodge, then follow up with an additional 40% physical damage and move back by 1 tile. Hidden Pierce is a debuff style basic attack. At the cost of 100% physical damage, Lutfi will steal 3 buffs from the enemy and inflict 1 random level 2 attribute debuff and life loss equal to 80% of his physical attack, lasting for 2 turns. At rank 11, I recommend Checkmate with a Castalia for Game-Breaking Flame. Checkmate is Lutfi's signature ability, teleporting behind the target, then dealing 100% AoE damage 4 times to random enemies within 2 tiles of his enemy. If Checkmate attacks the same target repeatedly, damage dealt to that target is reduced by 50%. Prior to attacking, Lutfi's crit and crit damage are additionally increased by 50%. After casting Checkmate, Lutfi receives the Planning debuff. Game-Breaking Flame is a debuff skill that inflicts 2 stacks of ignition on all enemies within a 1 tile radius of the target location and transforms the tiles to burning. Note that this skill is dependent on target location, so it is not tied to targeting an enemy. As a minor detail, because this skill inflicts ignition, this means Lutfi has minor benefit from magical attack. This build focuses on debuff and life loss application, casting Decoy or Game-Breaking Flame on cooldown, and Hidden Pierce between active skill casts. With Smiling Mask, Disturbance, Alienation, and Moment of Crisis, these rack up debuffs and life loss stacks with attack increases. This build focuses on dealing active damage, casting Checkmate as available and Discover Check between active skill casts. Energy Recovery helps fuel Checkmate's energy cost at low star level, but once Lutfi is at star level 5, Disturbance will perform better. Lutfi's Astral Imprint is Blade of Stratagem. This weapon offers a passive physical attack increase, a crit damage increase to active attacks against enemies with 3 or more debuffs, as well as an additional out-of-turn physical attack increase. This suits Lutfi's playstyle well, increasing his active damage and life loss damage. When comparing to other available swords, Blade of Stratagem is a premium weapon that benefits a wide roster of sword users based on the physical attack and active crit damage increases alone. You won't have difficulty finding other characters to equip this with. Other than Blade of Stratagem, Newborn Blade is always a fine option for either life loss or active damage gameplay. Void Stab is another considerable option for active damage gameplay for the crit and crit damage increases. For trinket recommendations, Disaster Bottle functions as a debuff skill that can trigger Smiling Mask, but be mindful it is an epic trinket so it loses some base stat value. As usual, if you have these available, Shield of Justice and Origin Hourglass are fine options for the attack increases. For tarot options, Redemption of the Judgment can be considered not only for the group damage utility, but to supplement debuff and life loss gameplay. Judgment applications can also trigger Smiling Mask. For active damage gameplay, consider Dream of the Magician or Verdict of Justice. For engravings, Sword and Wand remains a fine and comfortable option for the attack and defense increases following movement, increasing both active and life loss damage. To provide some composition and usage tips, as demonstrated thus far, Lutfi can be built for active damage or debuff gameplay. He is the first Seeker with high life loss gameplay, a damage over time effect similar to but unlike Infection and Frostbite. To increase his life loss damage, consider teaming him with units that increase piercing damage or damage over time effects, such as Afra, Kavari, Momo, or Agata. Lutfi is part of the Area, Union, and Alacrity categories. Consider teaming him with Dentalion, Gloria, and or even Cole for their leaders' auras. For a quick overview of external category buffs, Dentalion's aura grants 20% more damage to enemies with 3 or more debuffs. Lutfi easily supports the debuff count while also increasing his active damage. Gloria's Vow of Justice is a good aura to increase active damage, but has less contributions for Lutfi's debuffs and life loss. While Lutfi does bring his own Alacrity aura, he will still benefit from the crit and crit damage gains in Cole's Perfect Assassin. That concludes this character guide. If you have any feedback to share with me, please leave a comment below. I'm open to listening and being wrong. I'm another player improving and learning more about Sword of Convallaria just like you are. Remember, if you find conflicting information to other guides or content creators, then that means there are multiple ways to build a character and still achieve success. Finally, my social media contacts are displayed here to connect with me as well. Last but not least, I want to credit and shout out these resources for helping me put together this character guide. Voyage Memento for character build samples and reference links, the No Potion fan site for skill images and skill descriptions, and the Billy Game site for character art assets. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.